Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, it's afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome to this short media interaction with the President of FIFA. First of all, let me announce to you that we won't be spending more than 15 minutes here because of this time shortage. On the high table, from the far right is the Vice President of the Ghana Football Association, Mr. Gianni. Next to him is the President of the Football Association, Mr. Infantino. Next to him is our Grand Visitor, Mr. Gianni Infantino. On my left-hand side is our brother from Liberia, Mr. Musa Bility, the Liberian FA President. Mr. Infantino came with a delegation. Mr. Veron comes from DR Congo. He's in charge of Africa. When it comes to FIFA, the Africa operations is led by Mr. Veron. Mr. Matthias is the Chief of Staff for FIFA and also the Chief of Strategy. Madame Yasmin is also from the FIFA President's Office. Justice Emi Biabua is of the FIFA Ethics Committee. Dr. Kofi Annan is the chairman, was the chairman of the LOC for the African Cup of Nations in 2008. He's still a key opinion leader in Ghana football. I can see our the former Vice President of the Ghana Football Association, Mr. Fred Presley. Because of time, we won't be able to introduce everybody. Executive committee members, please, I humbly acknowledge your presence here, club owners and everybody. First of all, we'll take some opening message from the President of the Ghana Football Association, who is our host here today, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, Mr. President, my colleagues, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very tight schedule today. The FIFA President got into town this morning around 9:30 and is leaving at 1:30. So you can understand the tightness of the program we have. So we can only indulge you just for 50 minutes. We are doing it out of the respect we have for you. But I hope it will not be abused, so we can go according to time and leave here in the next 15 minutes. So I'll suggest that if we have any questions, just go straight without making any statements. Some questions are usually preceded by introduction and long political prefaces, which are not necessary today. Just go straight to the question, and if somebody has asked a question before, don't repeat it. And then the President can, as much as possible, address many of the issues that are lingering on your mind before he leaves. So without much ado, I will kindly invite the President, Mr. Gianni Infantino, to make a short statement, and then we can take a few questions. Bear in mind that in 15 minutes we'll be leaving. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Crazy, dear friends of the media. First of all, let me just thank you, actually, for all the work that you are doing to promote football and to help us promoting football. Some critical, other positive only, and we can live all with the criticism as long as it's constructive and we can all learn from it. So thank you for your contribution and work for football. Let me just say a couple of words before opening the floor for questions. Let me say how happy I am and honored I am to be here in this beautiful country of Ghana, here in Accra. the country of the Black Stars, who have written so many pages of not the history of football, but the legend and the myth of football, who have contributed to make this sport what it is in the world, the #1 sport, the sport that we all love and cherish, and the Black Stars are a significant part in this history of the legend and the myth of football. I would like to thank all the African and the Ghanaian people for this. Let me add as well that I'm happy to have met this morning His Excellency the President of the country, who is a great football fan as well. And this helps, of course, because what we discuss and what I'm here for to discuss with Kwesi, with the whole football community of Ghana, is how we can further develop football in this country. And as you know, we have done quite a lot in Fifa. Fifa who came from a very difficult time, but who is now working in good governance, transparency, and in integrity in order to focus much more on football. So we need to work together, of course, as well with the government who supports the association. And for me, Ghana Football Association has to be a leader of football, not only in the country, not only in West Africa, not only in Africa, but in the world. It has to play a leading role, a leading function, because it is a big country, because it is a big football country, and with the help and the work of the whole football community here, I'm sure that we can do it. Africa, for me, since my election, but even before when I was campaigning, being one of the top priorities. The development of football in Africa, there is a potential, and we have to be and to exploit this potential, not only with words but with concrete actions. I can tell you, if you want, some of the concrete actions that we have put in place in Africa, and I will open the floor for questions. Okay? It is a priority, and that's why I'm here. Together we can really make the difference.
Thank you very much. Now you raise your hand, you just ask one question. And question answered. Yes, gentlemen.
Thank you. My name is Maurice. I work with the graphic. Welcome, Mr. President. In your short introduction speech, you said that Africa is a priority. You've been going around, and you said you're going to come up with concrete measures. Your predecessor had goal projects and did a lot for Africa. What is your priority as far as Africa is concerned?
Yes, thanks for the question. Very concretely, because I have the bad habit of putting actions behind words. And when I say something, I put it in place, or at least I do my best to put it in place. So in less than 1 year since I was elected, and I said this during my campaign, and some were saying that it's just propaganda. I said, if I'm elected president of FIFA, my general secretary does not have to be European. And I even said that I would like him or her to be African. So the first general secretary in the history of FIFA, not coming from Western Europe, from basically 2 or 3 countries in Europe, is an African lady, Fatima Samoura, from Senegal, who is always Senegalese, but is really an African, having worked for the United Nations for 21 years throughout the continent of Africa, also in other places of the world, but especially in African countries. She's African, she holds the most important position in FIFA administration. She's the General Secretary. Is number 1. Number 2, we have increased the number of members of the FIFA Council, which is the executive body of FIFA, from 4 to 7. So instead of only 4 members, there are now 7 members representing Africa at the top table of FIFA. One of these 7 is Kwesi, who is here present with us. I have been saying during my campaign that we should have 40 teams in the World Cup, and out of the 40 teams, 7 should be African. That's what I was saying. Others were not necessarily in agreement with this, including in this continent. But what we did after is that not only we increased the World Cup to 40, but to 48 teams. And the African representation will definitely be more than 7. Now the precise number, we are still working it out, but it will be much more than that, and many more teams than currently. We are opening the doors to the work for African representatives to come and assist at summit meetings that we are organizing throughout the world. We organized meetings in Paris, we organized in Doha, we organized in Johannesburg last week. Next week we'll be in London. We'll have representatives from African countries, from European countries, from Asian countries, and we can exchange, create networks. And I just give you one small example. Last week in Johannesburg, the German FA signed a memorandum of understanding with the Rwanda Football Association on some projects. So these kind of connections, completely very practical representing interest. And let me just mention one more element that I'm still forgetting for Africa. Until last year, we were speaking about board projects and these kind of things, very important projects. But until last year, FIFA was investing in Africa $27 million US a year from the African associations. After my election, FIFA is investing in the African continent 94 million every year. With the same revenues. So we have to allocate the money where it has to be allocated, which is in the development of football. And in Africa, and that's why for me it's a top priority, in Africa there is such a big passion for football, there's such a big love for football, that if we manage to channel a little bit of this passion and to structure it in an appropriate way, and we create leagues and competitions and we generate players not only from their natural talent but with appropriate structures, then the future will become present for the African continent and will really make a change and make a difference.
Thank you very much, Mr. Infantino. Our friend from Togo, a journalist, has traveled from Togo to come here, so we'll give him the opportunity. Ahaji.
Non, s'il vous plaît. Selon certaines indiscrétions, votre tournée en Afrique, à quelques semaines donc des élections de la CAF, dérange du côté des amis de l'État. Est-ce que vous serez pour ou contre la limitation des mandats à la tête des confédérations affiliées à la FIFA?
Je réponds en anglais. I answer in English because we are in Ghana. Well, when it comes to my travel in Africa, I was saying it, I'm here to assist the associations, completely to help the associations to discuss about football development. And I can see that there is really a will and a wish around the continent to do this. It's not the first time I'm coming to Africa. My first visit after my election as president of FIFA was in Africa. I went to several countries in Central Africa as well in March, so less than 1 month after my election. And since I've been traveling quite a bit in this continent because I really like football. When it comes to term limits, generally, well, in FIFA we have introduced term limits. It was a proposal of the reform committee, of which I was part before being elected president, so I believe there's term limits. And FIFA there is a maximum of 12 years. And this will be introduced when we UEFA by the way. We did not have term limits, we have an age of 70. As of the next Congress, we have already proposed introductions where the term limits for 12 years in the project. Because to serve football, it's not the other way around. It must be clear in our heads that we are here for a limited period to do our best for the game, and after somebody else needs to take over and to give his or her best.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much, and welcome to Ghana. When we were campaigning on three fronts. You said you were going to your manifesto show there's reforms. The second one was democracy and participation. The third one was football development. I'll ask you a question relating to democracy and participation. Just before you won the elections in November 2015, you recall that Transparency International came out with a report in which they said that most of the sports organizations and FAs were not open about the way they operated, the money they received, and how they spent it. And you're out of the total of 2009. Just about 178 published reports that gave enough indication as to how they operated and how they were financed. You've spoken about achievement, but I haven't heard too much about democracy and participation. What are you doing to ensure that the football associations, especially here in Africa, are more transparent, because there's a perception that there's a lack of transparency? And if I may ask, can I get a photo opportunity afterwards? Thank you.
Okay. Well, it's a very important point, and thank you for that question. It was a crucial part of my manifesto, and it is a crucial part of what we are implementing. Very concretely, there as well, we have introduced in the FIFA statutes 2 articles, I think 14 and 21, but I'm not 100% sure. 2 articles, one of which deals with the associations and one with the confederations. And we have put for the first time in the history of FIFA some concrete requirements on what an association, a national association or a confederation, should have in terms of good governance and transparency. And these criteria, which before were not existing, now they are in the statutes of FIFA and oblige therefore FIFA to monitor, to check that these are put into place. So we have a team in place now within the FIFA administration. Veron is here in charge of Africa, whose task is to indeed also verify and check that all these requirements are met. In addition to this, I was saying we multiplied by 3.5 or 4 investments, the payments we are making for football projects in the associations. But this is not just money which is distributed like this. And it's not just money which is distributed based on friendship or not with the president or not, because it's not the way to do it. It's based on some concrete criteria that have to be fulfilled. One of these criteria is the publication of the accounts of the association. This must be public, this must be open, everyone must know where the money is coming from and where the money is going. This will be monitored and checked by FIFA, and if this does not happen, the association does get the funding from FIFA. So I think this is an important tool for us to be able to also make sure that good governance and transparency are indeed put in place at the National Association.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen at the back, please.
Welcome, Mr. President. Mine is a quick question. You were in a football party in Zimbabwe, and we all know what was happening at that party. These were countries that have come together, declaring their support for Ahmed. You have been in Liberia. You can see Musa Beniti here, the president of the Liberian Football Federation. Does this suggest that FIFA is supporting a move to oust Issa Hayatou as CAF president?
I have been in Zimbabwe discussing with the government and the Federation a very interesting project, by the way, regarding football development, which they have put in place, creating 8,000 football clubs across the country. This will boost tremendously football development in Zimbabwe. They started in September last year, and they've already set up 4,200 clubs from September until now. And the project is to go to 8,000 clubs, and this is what is very important. I'm going to every association who invites me, also to some maybe who don't invite me, because I'm the president of 211 associations in the world, and this includes 54 associations in Africa. I've been visiting maybe around 20 African countries since I was elected, and each and every time I was welcomed by all the presidents in a positive way. Then it is not up to the FIFA president to comment or to decide anything when it comes to the CAF Congress and the elections at CAF. It's democracy, and the democratic process functions in a way that you have delegates who are entitled to vote, who are entitled to make up their mind, and who can go and vote freely according to their wish and their decision. It's not to the FIFA president to decide or to instruct or to dictate anything, and certainly not going to do that. The federations and their presidents are certainly big enough to take their own decisions.
I'm told we have just 3 minutes, so we take the final question. Sorry about that. Gentleman in blue.
Mr. Infantino, welcome to Ghana. When you were answering the first question, you said in your tenure of office, Africa money has been increased from 27 million to 94 million. Is there a specific directive from FIFA? What specific amount should be given to each association, and what the money should be used for?
Yes, there is a specific directive of FIFA. The amount given for the first time in the history of FIFA is where the contribution is paid to the zones. In Africa, there are, as you know, regional zones who, I have to say, I was not really aware of before I started the campaign, and I wonder why nobody does them. I thought these zones are simply some sort of political bodies to decide about seats and things. And then I found out that these regional unions and zones are actually organizing competitions as well. And sometimes they struggle to organize competitions because, of course, it costs money. And obviously, if you don't have competitions in Africa, as well as in other parts of the world, well, how can you improve? So I decided, and it was accepted by the Council and by the FIFA Congress, that as part of the football development, and when it comes to Africa, 1 million per year is paid as well to each region, to each zone, for the organization of competitions, football competitions for boys and girls. I think that's a bit more or less the detail. And if you add all of this up and compare it with what was distributed, we reached these amounts I mentioned.
Ladies and gentlemen, all too soon, as we say in Ghana,